keep moving.
I know,
So- I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I move to approve the minutes from our 7/23/2025 meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mr. Bordner,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo.
Yes.
And I move to adopt the agenda from today's meeting, the August 20, 2025 meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Something good happened.
The crowd also seconded.
Sorry, I'm adjusting. I had those backwards. Mr. Bordner,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes. And I'm going to turn the meeting over to Dr. Penzarski to introduce our new staff.
Thank you. Well, to start, we had an amazing first day. So lots of smiles. Everything seemed to be running smoothly, even with a little bit of construction that slowed us down. But the staff, the administrators, the classified employees, from bus drivers to maintenance to admin assistants, they were just absolutely on today. So it was great to finally get students in these buildings. And so the people that are sitting in the audience, and it's a full audience, so if you could do the whole camera stand, they worked their first full day today, and they came to a board meeting. I think that's pretty exciting too. We're so happy to have each and every one of them. They all went through a rigorous process, and I think they're still smiling today, so that's good. But if we'll go ahead and start with central office, I can introduce a very special person that's behind the food over here, the cupcakes that you'll eat, and just a lot of making sure things happen this summer. So we had talked, I think, last year a little bit about switching the executive assistant to the superintendent to be more the executive assistant to the superintendent office, right, which would encompass all of student advancement, which is Mr. Mullins' piece. And so we went through a process. We had about 30 or so applicants, and there was just one superstar that stood out. And it always makes me happy when that superstar
That's what we were waiting for.
graduated from Chagrin Falls, and she has so many connections to our school district. It was just a real blessing to be able to have her in the front office. And so when people come in, she even knows names and makes connections already. But that's Catherine Fracci, and she was an aide at Aurora last year, Aurora City Schools. Prior to that, she worked as an assistant to the admission directors at US for junior kindergarten through 8th grade, and then really started with being a student service counselor at John Carroll. So when you talk about service and you talk about inspiring all, I think we have a great person in the front of our office. So Catherine, if you would stand. And I'm gonna make people give you an applause because you made everything happen. And then we have a great crew in the back, so I'll introduce Mr. Woofter to start the next round.
Thank you. A very large group today, and we're so proud of all of these new staff. So thank you, welcome. Great job on your first day. I have the pleasure of introducing Kate Zolikoff. Kate joined us, I think, in early May, hired at the April board meeting. And Kate comes to us with some wonderful experience. She's not really brand new because we've worked over the summer, and she did a fantastic job. She also does, she's the executive assistant to the pupil services coordinator, but also does the registrar office as well too, so greets all of our new families. Kate has a really impressive background. She has some experience. I'm gonna look for Kate too. Where she can, there we go. We'll have you stand at the end. Perfect, okay. Introducing you right back. She brings some really excellent experience. She was an IT project manager. She's really great with communications. Her professional background includes serving as a middle school office administrator at Hershey Montessori School most recently. Prior to that, she was an information coordinator and HR assistant at St. Ignatius School, and then the office assistant manager at St. Constantine and Helen Church. During the interview process, she just really shined, and we looked for months for this position. We really tried to find the right person, the right temperament. One thing I really like about Kate is she isn't always actually the first person to talk in a conversation. For those of you who met her, that you'll know that, but she's an excellent listener, and then she's really great about adding some information to things as well too. So it's really nice to have someone that's so good at listening, so thoughtful and so respectful about the way that she works with people. That spills over into the way that she works with families. And I've seen her as of the Office of the Register greet new families, follow up with them in an organized manner, and we're great to have that point of contact for them as well too. So let's just go ahead and welcome Kate Zolotoff. Thank you very much, Kate. Now coming to the podium will be Mr. Carpenter and Mrs. Cece, who will be tandemly introducing some of our Gurnee School staff.
We are very excited to introduce our new Gurnee staff members to everyone here in Chagrin Falls. We're going to start with our Gurnee Preschool Intervention Specialist, Mrs. Marnie Berger. We are so thrilled that she's joining us. She holds a bachelor's degree from Kent State University and a master's in elementary education from the University of Illinois at Chicago. Marnie is passionate about helping students grow academically, socially, and emotionally, and she looks forward to bringing that commitment to Gurnee. And we know she can't wait for the preschoolers to get here next Monday. So Marnie, if you want to stand up, we'd love to recognize you. We'd love to recognize Leah Bromfield. She is one of Gurnee's permanent building subs for the school year. Leah graduated from Kent State University with a degree in elementary education, and she completed her student teaching in a first grade classroom at Moreland Hills Elementary. She's been with Gurnee for a few years now, but she's transitioned into this new position, and we are so excited. Leah enjoys reading, hiking, lifting, and painting. And you may have caught her with some first graders doing some line dancing at the Gurnee recess today. So we are so thrilled to have her. Leah, stand up. We are so excited to welcome Danielle DeMuzio as a Gurnee's new first grade teacher. Danielle earned her degree in primary education and an intervention specialist license from the University of Mount Union. She enjoys working out, attending Cleveland sporting events, and spending time with family and friends. Let's give this first year teacher a round of applause for her first day in the classroom.
Good evening. I have the pleasure of introducing Suzette Firehammer, and she is joining us as our permanent building sub as well. Suzette brings over 15 years of experience in elementary and middle school education, most recently in the Solon City Schools as a teacher, curriculum developer, and instructional leader. When she is not with her family and her 5 grandchildren who keep her busy outside of school, Suzette enjoys spending time with family, being outdoors, crafting, and reading, and we are very lucky to welcome her to Gurnee this year. So please welcome Suzette. I also have the pleasure of introducing Amanda Popovich. She is our new Gurnee Spanish teacher this year. She earned a degree in Spanish and business from The Ohio State University, her teaching license from Cleveland State University, and she has a master's in special education from Miami University. So she is very well-rounded in the field of education. She most recently taught Spanish speaking and has over 20 years of experience in special education. And when she is not busy with her 3 children, she enjoys traveling, reading, and spending time with family outside of school. So please welcome Amanda. And like Patrick said, we are so excited to welcome our new hires here this year, and we're really looking forward to getting them started this year.
Well, and I'm pointing because I think we should just also acknowledge who
right.
else had a first day in
Yes,
Chagrin Falls
yes.
schools today. And he's still smiling, so that's a bonus. Thank
And
you.
then Curtis Howell is going to introduce our intermediate school new hires.
Good evening, everyone. Patrick, that is a tough act to follow with the energy that you brought. It's not really my style, but I will do my best. I have front and back people to introduce, so I'm super excited about the people I'm introducing because it not only makes an impact on our building, but in our community and with our kids. And when you look at the intermediate school as a whole and you think about the culture and the change that's coming with the experienced people we're bringing in, I'm super excited to see a lot of the new initiatives that we're starting here really take off. And these people are now going to be a part of that. So that's pretty awesome. The first person I'd like to introduce is Ariel Krowinski. Ariel holds a bachelor's degree in middle grades education from Ashland University and a master's in curriculum and teaching with a reading endorsement from Bowling Green State University. She enjoys exploring Cleveland's restaurants, attending shows at Playhouse Square, and spending time with her husband and two young sons, Levi and Bennett. Please welcome Ariel.
Mr. Howell, what is her position? I don't
Oh,
think
I'm
we got
sorry.
that.
She will teach sixth grade ELA. That's the first thing I should have said. Our next new hire is Bella Judge. Bella will teach fifth grade math at the intermediate school. She'll teach an advanced section and a general fifth grade section. Bella earned her bachelor's degree in middle level education from the University of Akron. Isabella enjoys hiking the Summit Metro Parks fall hiking spree, visiting national parks, dancing, trivia, and time with family, friends, and her dog, Milo. Please welcome Bella. Next is Gabrielle Weber. She will be teaching sixth grade science and social studies. Gabby holds a degree in middle childhood education from Hiram College and has previously taught in Texas for the last several years, so we stole her from Houston. Gabrielle enjoys running, yoga, puzzles, and time with family and pets, and is excited to join the Chagrin Falls community. Please welcome Gabrielle. Next is Caitlin McGuire. Caitlin will be our new intermediate school speech language pathologist, and I think she's also going to sneak over to Gurney a day or two a week to help some of our younger kids. Caitlin joined Chagrin Falls from the Butler Area School District in Pennsylvania, where she worked with students in grades K through 5. She earned her undergraduate degree from Baldwin Wallace University, where she played soccer. She enjoys reading, playing in adult soccer leagues, and spending time with animals, and she's excited to meet her new students and colleagues, and I just learned that I think she's going to be helping coach some soccer here. Please welcome Caitlin. We have Caitlin squared. Next is Caitlin Slawinski. Caitlin recently graduated from Miami University with a degree in middle childhood education. Outside of school, she enjoys traveling, reading, and spending time outdoors, and is excited to be a part of the Chagrin Falls community as well. And I didn't mention this, she will be our permanent building sub. Next is Lynn Connolly. She will be a fifth grade intervention specialist. Lynn holds a bachelor's degree from Baldwin Wallace University and a master's from John Carroll University. Outside of school, Lynn enjoys cooking, exercising, and spending time with her family and her two dogs. Next is McKenna Groves. She will be teaching sixth grade math. She'll also teach a section of advanced and a section of general sixth grade. She holds a bachelor's in middle childhood education from the University of Mount Union and a master's in educational technology from Kent State. McKenna enjoys trail running, Orange Theory workouts, coaching lacrosse, and spending time with her husband Brian and their corgi Millie. Last but not least, Sarah Nelson will be our second building sub for this year. Sarah holds a master's in social administration from Case Western University and a degree in family studies from Miami University of Ohio. She lives in Twinsburg with her husband, 3 teenage sons, and dog, and enjoys walking her dog while listening to audiobooks. I also learned a couple of days ago that her son is going to be playing baseball at Auburn, so that's a pretty awesome thing. So, welcome, Sarah. All right, next up is Layla DeSenza.
Good evening. I am very thrilled to introduce our new hires at the middle school. Ultimately, we look to build a nurturing environment that supports our students socially, emotionally, and academically, and these staff members meet and exceed that criteria. Our first is a student support aide, Keegan Powell. He is from Madison, Ohio, and recently graduated from Kent State. He is presently gaining his teaching license, and he stood out amongst all other candidates because his attitudes, beliefs, and styles support the middle-level student. He's been patient, respectful, flexible, and strives to meet students exactly where they are. Welcome. We have a specialized aide, Morgan Vincent. She too recently graduated from Kent State and has her 4.9 teaching license. It was apparent during our interview that she's organized, prepared, and authentic, and she has already shown to be positive, approachable, and knowledgeable. She has been an excellent addition to our staff and already connects well with the middle-level students. Welcome, Morgan. We also hired a specialized student support aide, Teresa Tanti. Her previous extensive experience as a preschool teacher's aide has prepared her well for this role. She has a calm demeanor, is hardworking and goal-oriented, and she understands the importance of relationships with middle-level students, and she's already fit right in. Welcome, Teresa. We have a building aide that we hired, Zach Simshan, and he is already attuned to technology, values relationships, and puts students first and foremost. He provides clear expectations and has been communicating thoroughly with students and staff. He has also taken on the role as our middle school athletic director, who's probably been the first middle school athletic director in 30 years since Todd has had it for such a long time. So he's new in this role. He has graduated from the University of Mount Union with a degree in 7-12 education. He played collegiate baseball and is currently a high school baseball coach. He is organized, deliberate, and professional, and we're very lucky to have him. Welcome, Zach. We also have a new shared staff member, but I'm going to introduce Jessica Ross because she is going to introduce that staff member.
Hi, everyone. I have the honor of introducing a new hire who is in both the high school and the middle school this year. So I get to see her in both places. So Maria Sargiovanni, she is our 7 through 12 library media specialist. Maria graduated from Kent State University with a degree in integrated language arts education and will complete her master's in library and information science this December. She taught English for 11 years before transitioning to the library field, and I learned today that she is also CCP certified. She looks forward to fostering a love for reading and research in Chagrin students, and is looking forward to this new role. Maria, please stand. And next is Amanda Rossi, high school principal, to introduce our high school new hires.
Good evening. We have 2 staff members that I will be introducing tonight. One unfortunately couldn't make it, and that is Brooke Anderson. She is our new science teacher. While she's technically new, Brooke did work in the district and resigned back in 2017 to start her family, and so we are thrilled to have her back in the district and at the high school with us. But here tonight we have Stephen Hanhold, who will be our 5 through 12 music teacher, and at the high school specifically for band. Stephen earned his bachelor's in musical arts from Bowling Green University and his master's in music education from the University of Akron. Stephen and his family recently moved to Northeast Ohio for this job, so we are thrilled to have him. He's already attended band camp, right? And it sounds like they had a wonderful time there, and the students are having a great time, and we'll hear all of that on Friday at our first home game. So we're very excited. Stephen, if you want to stand, be recognized. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to take a break, quick break, maybe 10 minutes,
Right, and we'll take the picture maybe first.
Okay.
Too, and then.
so that we can greet the new hires, and then you guys are welcome to stay, but we'll take a little break and you guys can go on with your lives and we'll finish up the meeting. Okay, so we do not have anyone signed up for, nothing else in the superintendent's report?
Correct.
We don't have anybody signed up for public participation, so we're going to move on to the consent agenda.
Do you want to do the financial reports now, or I can do them in my section?
Let's do them now.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do them now.
All right.
Is my head gonna be right? Mike, is there any way you can get the screen without my head? Okay, it's just gonna look weird. Sorry.
And Ashley, I had somebody ask me, do we post these on the website? I know they're attached to the agenda, but is there a separate link, or is it they
It's
just
on
go
the
to, what's
treasurer's
the?
page.
Okay,
On the right-hand side, there's a bunch of links
Okay.
by month.
Okay.
Probably a little bit behind if somebody was trying to point that out. That's probably true.
no, they were
but I
just
can do it in the
asking,
morning.
they were asking if there was a way other than looking through the agenda to find them.
Oh, yeah, they're on the
Okay.
treasurer's webpage. Yeah, if you go to the main page, go to, I think it's departments,
Okay,
and then click on treasurer, and it'll take you to my page.
okay, great.
Ashley, would you mind turning your mic? So since I was not here last month and I actually watched the thing on YouTube, like,
Okay.
yeah,
that
it's
better?
so much more helpful when you're, yeah.
Okay, so July, as we all know, there's not a ton of financial activity. It's the first month of the fiscal year. So all of the month-to-date numbers, if you're looking at the actual reports attached to the agenda, the month-to-date is going to be the same as the fiscal-to-date. That's not a mistake. We only have 1 month under our belt here. So began the month in the general fund with 17.1 million. We received $7.4 million as revenue, which is very unusual for July for us. I'll show you the comparison in a minute here, but that's because we received a tax advance in July, which typically we don't, that has not happened actually since fiscal year 20. So it's not some big windfall, it's just timing. And we spent $3 million for a surplus for the month of 4.35, and our ending cash balance in the general fund is about 21.5 million. So this is the picture of the general fund revenue. You can see here what this looks like compared to the prior years in July. So most of these months here, for the last 5 years, we did not receive a tax advance. So you can see we did in 20. And this year, that's why that's the anomaly. That's why I'm keeping this month in here. I know comparing to 6 prior years is starting to get a little excessive. But I wanted to keep that in there just because I wanted you to understand and see what's happening. So I didn't want anybody to look at that and see it as a major windfall.
And does that mean that August will look different because of the timing? Okay.
So August, the revenue for the month will be lower than last year's August, but the year to date it should catch up and look similar. Expenditures. You can see I'm still comparing to the prior 6 years. Expenditures for this July are down compared to last July. I did kind of look into that because I wouldn't expect our expenditures to necessarily go down. We haven't made any cuts or anything. But there was a rather large contract payment last July that kind of increased that a little bit more than normal. So that's why it looks like it's going down. I like the way it looks, but don't get too excited. Okay, cash balance. So all of these gray lines here are our prior years. We start out in July. Typically, we get our tax advances in August. We spend down until January. Then we go back up when we get our tax. Starts coming down again. This looks misleading because it looks like in July we have more money. Then it looks like our cash balances are going up. That is not the case. If you look black here is where we ended last year. So that is lower than the previous 3 years. This is up because of that $7 million tax advance. So without that, you can see we would be, we'd be way down here. So again, this looks a little bit different. I just like to put that qualification out there just so that everybody understands. This is not going to go up like this and be above previous years. It's obviously going to go up because we are going to get more taxes. What we received was just an advance, not the settlement yet. So we do have more tax money coming in, but our cash balance is not higher than than the past few prior years, or just last year, I guess. We're going to start to spend down now. Okay, self-insurance. Last month, you remember this little anomaly here was because we posted contributions for 2 months. We posted June and July in June. So that's why this number is 0 this month. There were no contributions posted because they were already posted in the previous month. So we're now back down to where we should be. So this line really should be looking like that, but because we've had that timing issue, it went up and came back down. Okay, cash deposits and investments. This is just a picture of where our money is housed. Still 61% is in Star, Ohio. Very easy to get to, very liquid, but we're still earning interest on it. And then we've got almost 30% in our investment management account, which is not as liquid. You can't just transfer something out of there immediately. And that's all I have for you for July. Not a whole lot of activity in July. First month, we're don't have anything really to compare to. We don't have a 5-year forecast yet, or 3-year forecast, or whatever we're going to be calling that. So don't have a whole lot, but that's what happened in July. Any questions?
Nope, I don't think so.
It's like the fastest I've ever done that.
Okay, so no public participation on agenda items. We're on to the consent agenda. I make a motion to approve all items 5.01. Here we go, 5.02. Okay, so
Through 5.11. Yeah, 11.
what's that? Okay, 5.02.
No, you're doing
No, doing one.
5.02
Okay, so
through
most of the items
5.11.
listed under the consent agenda are routine in nature or have gone through committee review or have been reviewed by the board during open work sessions to assure thorough review. Items may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member. So I move to approve item 5.01. Do I have a second?
You're moving to approve 5.02 through 11, all of them. It's
So
everything
we're
on
gonna do
that
all of them
agenda.
at once. Okay. Okay. So I move to approve item 5.02 through item
11.
11. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Okay. Mrs. Hoy,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mr. Bordner.
Yes.
There was one item in here before we move on that Mike was gonna, 5.07, that Mike was just gonna give us a quick, I had a question for him on what the Microsoft, we're so reliant on Google, we use Google so much, why we had a Microsoft item. He and I talked about it. If you could just give like a 2-minute in case anybody has any question. And I don't know if people could hear that if they were listening at home. So we have about 150 devices that are Microsoft-based, and we do receive a lot of documents through Microsoft, so we need to provide some coverage to be able to open and deal in those documents. Okay,
And he
great.
will pry Excel out of my cold dead hands.
So it's a Treasury Department. Okay, So we're on to the superintendent recommendations. I move to approve the 2026-2027 school district calendar as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So this was presented in June, and remember, we needed that 30-day window for comment. We took the comments, and I also promised you that it would have the PD embedded so that parents would know, families would know exactly what days students would not be in session. So the only thing I want to caution you about with this calendar, and it's ready to be approved, is that there are some components that still need to be negotiated when we go through negotiations. So it could adjust slightly for staff attendance days, but we're going to do our best and should be able to maintain. These will be the student days off.
Okay.
And then we'll be able to finalize. I just like to say that just in case something changes.
Right. So those would be PD days and maybe more at the beginning of the year or less at the beginning of the year, something like that.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions about the calendar?
Just I think that the community will be so excited to see the end of the school year.
Before Blossom.
Before Blossom, that has never happened, so.
Yeah. Great.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mr. Bordner,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy.
Yes.
Okay, and the one everyone's been waiting for. I move to approve item 6.02, which is our district policies, which includes our new cell phone policy and an issue for volunteers. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley,
just
you want to, yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about the,
No, I just didn't. Just go ahead.
I just,
No, actually, I'm really proud of this one. So do we do the?
yeah,
Did you get everything you needed? So the first one, the volunteers, was just something we had to update. Actually, we've been holding it for a little bit because we were waiting to have additional policies. It's not a major update. But the personal communication device, I think, just to be frank, that the communication from both the district and the principals has been outstanding to actually what it means and how it's going to function here for Chagrin Falls. If you remember in July, I told you that I had a hunch, but there was still not enough information. So we knew that there was a cell phone ban, but there were a lot of things that hadn't been defined clearly. So where the definition in the law itself wasn't exactly matching other parts of the Ohio Revised Code, and so we wanted to wait for a little more definition before we jumped into what our policy wording would be. So I believe it was last week, maybe the first of the week, that Ohio Department of Education and Workforce came out with a clarification. And the big one we were waiting on was instructional day. Because the thing to consider is that, if you remember, our schools are counted by hours. We just did the calendar. And when we count hours, we don't count things like lunch or recess. And so are those part of the instructional day? And so when we're doing this cell phone ban, if you will, this personal communication device, what are those things? What does it mean? So our policy now defines those pieces. Instructional day is the entire day that students are here in session. So really what that means is that they're powered down and that they're out of sight. Now there are some places where cell phones can be allowed, and all that's outlined in the policy, and I'm sure that families that need that have been working through that with their building principals. The other thing, though, that I just want to be really clear about are the personal communication devices. So you might have a watch, you might have a MacBook, you might have a Chromebook, you might have an iPad, those kinds of things at school. And if you are using those items for instructional purposes, so if the language that we've been using internally is if you are not using it as a substitute for your cell phone. So if you're using your watch as a watch, right? But if you're texting or communicating on your watch, it's now a substitute for your cell phone, then it's subject to all the rules of the personal communication device, just like the cell phone. So if I'm using my watch as a means to communicate, substitute for the cell phone, then I need to power it down. It needs to be put away out of sight. And it follows the same schedules and the same all the same pieces as that policy states. So the other thing would be like a MacBook or and I'm just picking on a MacBook, but like even an iPad, if you're using it to text, right, or to chat, you've now substituted that device for the communication aspects, and the law is very specific about the communication aspects of what it is. I think we've had a very successful first day, and actually we've gotten a lot of feedback that people are happy with our approach. Out of sight, powered down. There are some social media pieces that will be coming out too, just to help families and students remember. But I don't think it was a huge change for us, given the policy before, just in some of the areas that it might have been allowed, like a hallway, or maybe at lunch, in some cases, a middle school recess. So I think we've had a very good implementation and very clear communication. It was just our board meeting fell tonight.
I heard from my fourth grader that one of his teachers had everybody take their watches off, just to be safe.
Yeah, it was a quick turnaround with the way, this was a good example of the difficulties of policy and guidelines and handbooks and timing of things that come out of the state. Because we had a policy, we had teachers who implemented systems in their classroom that they felt were working and that were keeping kids from being distracted during what they, that instructional time. But then there was this open question of whether instructional time included recess and lunch. I think we were pretty unified that that was going to be a healthy change and a good thing for kids. But that's going to look different with the 12th grader than with the first grader. We already had some of those things in place in first grade, but it has to flow through to the teachers and all the work the teachers are doing in the classroom, the aides, all the people in the buildings. But then also, you have to look at the handbooks. We have to get the information out to parents. We need support from home. And hopefully, ultimately, we get the kids on board. We get support from the kids, because I have heard from older kids that having a forced break sometimes turns into an enjoyable break. So we'll see how that turns out.
Well, and I also feel like we did so much substantive research and so much listening when Mike was doing the survey of it. So I wonder if we can also go back to some of that information now, especially I think, Mike, some of those parts, correct me if I'm wrong, where we asked about concerns for like some students who are saying, I was using my cell phone as a way to have some downtime during, or things like that. So, are there things that we can work with the counselors on, or identify those students that might be struggling a tiny bit more, and go back to some of that feedback?
So
Because I think the
that's
feedback was
why
supporting.
The personalized
Of
communication
nothing.
device, we didn't want to do a full ban.
Yeah, yeah.
So if it's not being used for communication, so if you're listening to an
Oh,
audiobook,
okay, I love that.
if you
Okay.
are listening, if you need a music break,
Perfect.
mental break, we wanted to make sure that those
Love that
students
clarification.
and
Yeah.
families had a means to be able to do that. Because even some districts took to the extent of no earbuds,
Yeah.
and you have to do what's best for your district. And like you said, we had all this information that those mental breaks are needed. It's only if it's used as a communication device that we have to say we have to follow the complete shutdown and those pieces.
That's a really good clarification. I love that. But
And Jennifer, unfortunately, we had our principals here. I should have asked this question when they were here. Do you know what, as far as, I know some parents are concerned about being able to reach their kids during the day. I know they can call the office. I know that we're checking emails, that there's, do you have any information about, how they can reach out, or just go ahead and call the building office if they have an issue with their student during the day?
Yes, so that would be, you want to call the offices, and we're working really hard, and you'll see a little later, to make sure that those offices are covered. So I know that sounds kind of silly, but even if you get a voicemail, leave a voicemail, because that might mean they're on the phone with someone else and they will get your call. But we also want to make sure that we have a person without those breaks or maybe time periods where someone's
So we
not
have coverage, right?
Right, but just because you get a voicemail doesn't mean that there's not someone there. It means leave a message and they'll get back to you. But we're pretty confident. And then I'm just gonna say this, I think most people know, if you have let's say you have your cell phone powered down in your backpack, the other piece of the law is if there's an emergency of some sort, the student's able to get the phone and turn it on. I mean, I'm talking like school emergency, but that way, we didn't want to say totally not in the building, if that makes sense. Because we had to be true to that piece, and then we updated our safety plans to make sure that those would be able to be accounted for. This is why it
Very
took so long.
So it's a
and
big
why
ripple.
We just didn't
Yeah.
jump.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I appreciated reading that specific clarification in the policy.
Okay, so did we had a second on that? Ashley, want to
We
take the roll
do.
on that?
We need to
Okay,
vote.
great.
Dr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mr. Bordner,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Okay, item 6.03 follows on that, which is a motion to revise the personal communication device sections of the handbooks at Gurney Elementary, Chagrin Falls Intermediate School, Chagrin Falls Middle School, and Chagrin Falls High School to reflect the changes in the state law governing student cell phones as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We took a unique approach, and I want to be okay with this, but because this is a new law, because we have specific intentions and spent the time, we wanted to make sure it was implemented with fidelity across all buildings. So every handbook has one language right now, one piece, one change. Now, the good thing is we're going to evolve. We're going to learn if there are tweaks and things, even with policy or the handbook. But for right now, we thought for families, for consistency, we wanted handbook language to be the same. So what you're voting on will go district-wide, and it's one handbook language.
Okay.
Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mr. Bordner,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo.
Yes.
Okay, I move to approve item 6.04, which is a motion to approve the application for student enrichment activities, supplemental contract submitted by Katie Addick and Heather Hertz, proposing the CFIS Read, Discuss, and Lead program. Do I have a second?
I'll second. This is exciting.
Any questions? Ashley?
Mr. Bordner,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes. I move to approve item 6.05, which is resignations. This is a motion to approve the staff resignations as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Mrs. Hoy,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mr. Bordner.
Yes.
I move to approve item 6.06, which is a motion to approve the certified teacher contracts contingent upon meeting all requirements as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
You got to meet a few.
Yeah, that was great. This has really become a fun tradition to have everybody here.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mr. Bordner,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy.
Yes.
Did I skip over 6.05?
No.
You did.
No, that was
You seconded
resignations,
it.
we got it.
Oh, I got
Okay,
resignations. Yeah, thank you. No, definitely keep me honest. Okay, so now we're on to 6.07. 6.07 is certified personnel substitute teachers. This is a motion to approve the following substitute teachers on an as-needed basis contingent upon meeting all requirements. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Jennifer, can you quickly explain the building subs? I heard, that was a designation we heard tonight, and it's a little bit confusing for people who are, understand the old model of we call a whole list of people and we try to find a sub at 5:30 in the morning.
We still do,
and-
so we still have our subs.
Yeah,
So we did what's called a memorandum of understanding with our CFEA union, our teachers union, to say, we think that because of the absences, because of professional development, because of the shortage of people available, we want to make sure that our students have the most qualified person to step in when one of our teachers is out. We want someone that knows the building. We want someone who has experience with the culture, with the students, right? And so we went with the concept of having a building sub, which is a year-long position. So that person is assigned, we try to assign them to a specific building. We have the ability to assign them somewhere else if there's just nothing that they're needed for, which never happens. But, so what you heard in those year-long building subs is that they are assigned, they show up every day, and they have the first slot when there's a substitute need.
got it. Okay. Which does not mean we don't still need substitutes
no.
too.
That's why I say
We always need
this,
substitutes.
This is here.
Correct.
always.
Okay, Ashley?
Dr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mr. Bordner,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Okay, 6.08, this is a motion to approve the following certified staff for additional hours. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mr. Bordner,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo.
Yes.
I move to approve item 6.09, which is a motion to approve the following certified staff for mentor teacher stipends as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Jennifer, you want to explain what a mentor teacher is?
Teachers that support new teachers in, it used to be a really formal RESA program. They've changed it quite a bit, but that's just the person that's supporting that first couple of years of teaching.
So could you elaborate on when we have quite a few new hires, why we only have one mentor teacher?
This may be one that was just added.
Yeah, this
Oh,
one's
okay.
actually, I believe, for a student teacher. This is, it
Understood.
says paid by CSU.
Oh,
It's
so
one of
this
those.
is actually a student.
So the way those work is CSU will pay for that time. They'll pay our teacher to mentor the student. So they make payment to us and then we make payment to our teacher so that it's all contained in there, their taxes are taken out and all those types of things.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Okay, Ashley?
Mr. Bordner,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes. 6.10, this is a motion, I move to approve the following classified staff contracts as presented contingent upon meeting all requirements. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Jennifer? Do you wanna-
Well, this one may look, I mean, it looks typical, but I just want to clarify that in the intermediate school, we have two people in the front office. One position has been as an admin assistant, one position was an educational aide. So when the position opened, Megan Laws took the educational aide position. It was because at the time, that person didn't do the amount of data entry and functioning to the job description of an administrative assistant.
Okay.
Over the course of time, that position has evolved. And now we believe that her role is more of that of an administrative assistant. We know it's more. So this year, we were able to get her aligned. She's doing an admin assistant job. She needs to be paid as an administrative assistant.
So for people who are familiar with the entrance and going into the intermediate school, they won't really see any change.
No change, except for Megan.
Great.
Take care of her.
Absolutely, that's great. Okay, Ashley?
Mrs. Hoy,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mr. Bordner.
Yes.
Item 6.11, I move to approve the following classified staff for additional hours as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mr. Bordner,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy.
Yes.
Item 6.12, I move to approve the following classified substitutes on an as-needed basis contingent upon meeting all requirements as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Just to clarify, we approve substitutes throughout the year. This isn't a one-and-done thing, so if people are still interested, they can still get a hold of Mr. Woofter and find out what the requirements are, and we can approve them at a later meeting. Okay, Ashley?
Dr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mr. Bordner,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
I move to approve item 6.13. This is a motion to approve the following staff members to be paid $30 an hour, not to exceed $2,400 for the 2025-2026 school year for their participation as a member of the district leadership team. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So the only thing I just want to mention is, I think it's super exciting, is the structure of our district leadership team is completely shifted, and we are actually doing an inquiry team model this year. where we're going to follow that strategic, if you were part of the strategic plan and saw those teams work and go out and gather information and data and then bring it back. They have, I think, 5 teams that are going to do this. So I'm really excited to see how they take those frameworks that we learned, right, and set through strategic planning, and now we're applying it in a different way.
Great. Ashley?
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item 6.14, this is a motion to approve, or I move to approve the following exempt staff for additional hours as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes. I move to approve item 6.15. This is a motion to approve the credentialed evaluators for the purpose of the Ohio Teacher Principal School Counselors Evaluation System as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Jennifer, you want to tell us what this is?
So, it's the Ohio Teacher Evaluation System, and you have to take a course and basically pass a test, and it's I think every 2 years to be able to be an evaluator. So per our contract, per our board policy, you have a list of evaluators, and then there are ways that evaluators are assigned or requested. And so we have to approve the evaluators every year, and typically they're your administrators and probably some central office people.
If people are looking at the attachment, they'll see that some of the evaluators have a date of expiration where they need to, I assume, get new training or
Right.
renew training. Others do not. Why is that?
Well, it just depends on what cycle you're on and if the evaluation tool itself shifts as well. But every
Okay.
2 years, you have to go through the process. And I don't know if you remember, but what makes us super unique and special now is that we have Koyonaki, who is actually was a state trainer. So over the summer, we've spent time making sure that our processes are aligned and having really good conversations about, my hope would be that whatever evaluator you have, no matter where you are in the district, that there's a level of consistency in process, in how we're looking at different aspects of every classroom. And that you get through those trainings and through, you watch a video and through that recertification process, but now we're even able to take it a step further with our teams.
That's great. Questions? Okay, Ashley?
Lost my place. Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Item 6.16, athletic, event helpers, I move to approve 6.16, which is a motion as presented for people who help out at athletic events. We're approving the payment for 2025-2026 school year contingent upon meeting all requirements. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Okay, item 6.17, I need to pick a consistent way to say these numbers and just do it. I'm going with 6.17 from now on, okay? I'd like to make a motion to approve this item. This is athletic supplemental contracts as presented and contingent upon meeting all requirements. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Ashley?
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
I move to approve item 6.18, which is community education. This is for our summer camp staff pay. I move to approve the following community education staff payments based on meeting all program requirements and program registration. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So Jennifer, just to clarify, or Ashley maybe, this is one that we only pay if we have sufficient students sign up, correct?
I believe all of the community ed programs that would apply if we don't have enough.
Okay.
We wouldn't run them.
Right,
Yeah, this one's for Jumpstart.
okay. Ashley?
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
I move to approve item 6.19, which is a contract with Berkshire Local Schools. This is an interdistrict education service, and it's for the 2025-2026 school year. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
I move to approve item 6.20, which is a transportation agreement for the 2025-2026 school year. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes. I move to approve item 6.21. This is a motion to approve the contract with Jumpstart Sports for fall ball for fall 2025 as presented. This is Saturdays for 5 weeks. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Okay, that's the end of the superintendent recommendations. We're on to the treasurer recommendations. Ashley?
The only thing I have is the monthly financial reports, which I presented at the top of the meeting. I am recommending your approval.
Okay, I move to approve the financial, monthly financials for the month of July. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Do we have any other business, any date changes or anything we need to talk about? I think we're okay. Happy first day. Happy to have it under our belt. Okay, we have no one signed up for public participation on a non-agenda item. So executive session.
Okay. Item 10.01, I'd like to make a motion to enter into executive session in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 121.22 for the sole purpose of the consideration of the following matters. To consider one or more as applicable of the checkmarked items with respect to a public employee or official. Checkmarked are employment and compensation of a public employee or official. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Ashley? Oh, and we will not be taking action after the meeting, or after the executive session.
And next meeting is?
September 17th, here in the library at 7 o'clock.
Dr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel?
Yes.
Mr. Bordner?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.